I digress a little bit. We're here for some writing, or at least I hope everyone else is. I'm here for the writing. So tonight we have a new guest with us, Garth Talbott. How's it going, Garth?
Good, Kevin. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. So you have not been on the show before, right?
I haven't, no.
Okay, cool. How'd you hear about the show, out of curiosity?
I've just heard it on the radio.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I listen to KZFR quite often. So,
Thanks for tuning in, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing this show. I think it's really awesome.
I appreciate it.
So, yeah.
Well, I know we have a piece that you wrote. I don't remember how long you had written this piece. Was it like a year or two ago? Or?
I actually started it, I think, last April.
Okay.
At least last May, and it kind of started accidentally, and then it started growing, and then I was committed to finishing it by June.
So this is a clay work in progress, been molded into shape for a while.
Yeah, and then revising since June. So, and I think it's finally gotten to the point where I'd like to share it with people.
Cool.
So my cat's heard it a million times.
Hey, the best audience.
But yeah, so
then before we begin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some maybe some context for the piece. How long have you been writing? And then we can dive into it.
Okay. Well, should I start with the title? And
yeah, that would probably. Yeah, let's go with there.
So the title's Black Ferrari, which doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. I was a combat engineer in the United States Army for almost 9 years. And so this is about a particular 3-day mission in Afghanistan in 2009, doing route clearance. That's what we were tasked with there, was route clearance. And
that's intense.
It could be. Yeah, it was mostly boring, but then sometimes it was incredibly intense. So anyways, the title Black Ferrari are the routes that we had in our area were named after vehicles. So Ferrari would be the route, and the quick nomenclature system for those routes would go green, amber, red, and black. Green basically being almost no enemy activity, and black being
through the thick of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
So that's the background on it.
Any background about you? So this is, and as far as your writing endeavors go, is this like a new experience? Have you been writing for a long time, or?
I've been writing for most of my life. Yeah, I've had a few things published, not much. Yeah, so I most of my writing's been pretty private, and a lot of my military writing has been mostly therapeutic. And it always kind of starts, it just kind of starts somewhere. It starts with this little thing and then just sort of grows into this larger project, most of which don't get finished. This is one that has been mostly finished. I don't think it'll ever be entirely done.
If you could count how many things I have on my shelf that are writing that are like halfway there or 3/4 of the way there, let's just not go there. Yeah,
I think that's pretty normal. Yeah.
Come back 10 years and do some revision later. It's
right.
there for later. It's
right.
prepping you for later when you have free time.
Exactly.
Well, should we dive into it?
Sounds good.
Okay.
We set out in the flatlands of a high mountain valley with the Cummins turbo whining and the cupola around me. Honda to Ferrari with the green fields down below and the blue skies all around us and the camels on the road. Up the dusty trail, scraping through the mountain towns where there's no one out to see us but the boys who stare us down. On and up we roll down the mountain through the pass when the buffalo in front of me is enveloped in the blast. Dust and dirt and rocks and steel go flying in the air and the front end of the buffalo gets scattered everywhere. Piece comes spinning at me, and I try to duck to miss, but I'm too slow and it's too fast, and it bounces off my chest. Well, the boys in the buffalo are all doing just fine, except the ringing in their ears and the compression in their spines. ETT and A&A starts crawling on the hills, and EOD is chasing down the wire to our thrills. But the trigger man is long gone, his position is deserted, just a flash capacitor, energy exerted. Stuck down in the roadway, diesel smoke and mountain air, with the boulders on the hillsides and the pines don't even care. Wrecker in the wrenches cutting steel down in the mud of the diesel and the dust that the buff has spilled like blood. Wrecker in the wrenches get that buff hooked up and dragging, and we're burning up our daylight and our push to Tillman's lagging. Blue skies let the sun go as the clouds start moving in, and it feels like the sun is gone and won't come back again. Rain falls on the road dust, slicks it all up deep clay mud, and we slip and we slide with six-wheel drive and locked-out hubs. 27 tons of buffalo blew out the 10-ton crane, and the front end of the buffalo disintegrates again. Stuck down in the wadi, we're a convoy that can't move, and the mountain night comes on real quick, dark without a loom. 14's on the way, that's our sister RCP. Can't roll without their wrecker, so we sit and stare at trees. Standing in my turret in the foggy mountain nighttime, wondering if the Taliban is creeping in the woodline. A pop, a flash, my nods go bright, star cluster in the air, and someone on the radio. They're moving everywhere! But someone is a dumbass and his nerves a little frayed. There's no one in the ridgeline but the cold, wet A&A. 14 finally hooks us up with their own tribulations. Couple fresh new IEDs, at least one detonation. Get our buff all hooked up and we start making up time and moving forwards feeling good and we're all feeling fine. Then the grunts, they roll a truck off the road into the wadi. Waiting on a medevac, hope he ain't no body. We never hear the helos, but I know that he's alive. Gun trucks, they roll over, sometimes gunners don't survive. Stalled out once again, the only forward movement's time. At least the clouds have passed us and the star rivers, they shine. Stars out here, they're not like home, each one's a burning flare, and there's billions all around us, they illuminate the air. The hardest time to reckon with the war is in the night, when you're spiked out in the mountains and the starshine pines so bright. Morning comes around and it's stand to at first light, and we're really getting wore out, but it's been a peaceful night. My AG takes the turret, I dismount to stretch my legs, daydreaming about fried bacon, fried potatoes, and fried eggs. But breakfast, just more cigarettes and half-warmed MREs, a little weapons maintenance and yelling at the trees. In the side box of the gun truck, keep a coffee pot and filters. I arrange it on the bumper, plug it into the inverter. EOD is popping popcorn 'cause they got a microwave. Starbucks and some Redenbachers, how we start the day. We saddle up in Charlie Mike. We leave the deadline trucks with half the element behind us. Wish each other luck. The day goes quick, the clicks roll on, we're making real good time, and we drop into a valley that I can't hardly describe. Terraced hill, a town on top with stair-stepped emerald fields, dun mountains all around it, place and time that seems unreal. We get down in it, down below it, road it goes around, and a boy starts chucking rocks at me. I draw my M4 down. What he don't know it won't kill him aren't the ones who shoot at kids, but the way he takes off running makes you think that's what we did. The town seems less than friendly, we're all waiting to take fire. We just keep on pushing forward, and forward's always higher. God dang these goddamn mountains, everything is always up, and the roads are barely wide enough to fit our goddamn trucks. Another valley, herds of goats, or maybe they're all sheep, and the mountain sunset's dangling as we make our last pass east. There's the outpost Tillman. It's a scab up on the hill with the Hescos all around it and more boys who chased a thrill. We park our trucks so nice and neat and start shutdown procedures while our Jaffos disembark and scare up our sleeping quarters. Tillman is a blackout cop. It's armor in the wire. It's the kind of place harassed a lot with random mortar fire. 5 meters spaced out chow line. What a joke to blow up now, but no mortars for us tonight, just good rack and hot chow. Our quarters is a tiny room so dark that you can't see without a tack light or those little clip-on dangling LEDs. It's so close and hot and stuffy, but at least we have our cots. The only problem with the decadence is the space it leaves for thoughts. I wonder what she's doing about 12 hours here to there. Can she feel my love transcending to her cool morning bay air? Sleep's not sleep when darkness takes you over like the dead and you come up from the blackness to the wristwatch by your head. All the things I always need, I find them in the dark, and we shuffle out with all our stuff to where our trucks are parked. Startup stuff goes easy, got a motivated crew warming up the truck and radios, the BFT and Dukes. Get my turret neat and nice, my weapons functions checked. Let the gun stare up into the sky, we cuss and pray for death. 'Cause the fuel point's a fiasco, bunch of monkeys roping goats. There's diesel spraying everywhere, it's just an army joke. An hour or 3 later, route clearance clearing road, wondering what out there is waiting. Know the route we're taking home. It's all sucking on the road dust where it turns your spit to mud, staying low behind the gun shield, getting beat up by the truck. Well, that's just nerves, it's all okay. Have a rip it and relax. Smoke a smoke and scan your sector, Garth. This ain't where they'll attack. We link up with the rest of us who spent the last day writing trucks and pushing their perimeter into the pines and scrub. We give 'em all our diesel oil from all our jerry cans, and we limp our crazy wagon train back through these hard, steep lands. Well, there's the wheel from the buffalo, taller than I am high, clear over in a different draw, that blast sure made it fly. What's up is down, what's left is right, we're moving backwards now, and somehow trucks stay on the road, I couldn't tell you how. I'm trying not to look down, but down is all there is. I can't even see the roadway, just a high desert abyss. Call comes through our headsets, boys and back are in a tick, but we can't get the depression to get our guns to hit. A tick is troops in contact, means you're shooting line of sight, means the men who want to kill you are really looking for a fight. Both sides finish hashing out their angry conversation. For them it's just a way of life, for tourists or rotation. None of ours is injured, hoping theirs are all real dead. You get real mean and surly when a war lives in your head. We scrape down through the first town, means we're leaving the real steep, dropping back into the foothills, now it's getting really deep. Not a single soul to see us, no kids yelling out for pens. Don't say nothing to my AG, he just preps some ammo cans. Husky gets a hit and drives some back and forth, before the buffalo moves up and starts a-scraping with its spork. The cloud of dust is instant, the blast all through my guts, and the buffalo has vanished in the pall that hides the truck. There's little pops around us, breath of maybe count to one, before the radio goes crazy and the whole world comes undone. I crank my turret over from the 12 onto the 9, and the guns are all just waking up all up and down the line. LT's on the radio with 14's blown up crew, they're trucking all their men's alive, we start the slow push through. Trying not to let that tunnel vision take me over, splashing RPGs and tracers make it real hard to stay sober. Butterfly means different things to different kinds of folks. To some it's just a pretty bug, to swimmers it's a stroke. To me it's just the trigger of my cranky Mark 19 fully automatic 40 mic aluminum machine. We're all working on the ridgeline just to putting out that hurt for whatever life is left to us, whatever that is worth. No one ever talks about how good it really feels when every single little thing you do is the last you do for real. Mark 19, it jams up tight, the bolt is really stuck, but the pig, she never lets me down, we keep our volume up. Sometimes now I wonder if before we were all born, if our mothers knew each other, what they'd think about our war. A firefight's a firefight, there's not much else to say, seems like the smallest part of all the things, of all of those long days. By the time the birds they show up and start searching with their guns, the Taliban is packed up and the whole damn thing is done. All of us, we made it through, at least we did today. I don't know about the Taliban, I hope they're digging graves. We finally make it back down to our high mountain valley with the Cummins turbo whining and the cupola around me. Down into the flatlands, making time on level ground with the sinking sun a-setting in blue skies and gold-limbed clouds.
Oh, man. Garth, before we get back into that, let me do one quick pledge. Oh, my goodness. What word was I thinking of? I have no clue. Let me do some pledging, because I do want to remind people who are listening right now that we are on our pledge drive. There are 5 ways to pledge. You can go to our online site, kzfr.org, call 530-895-0131, if that wasn't too fast. Text pledge KZFR 44321, Venmo KZFR 901, or mail a check at 341 Broadway, Suite 411, Chico, California 95928. And just want to remind you guys, if you are a new donor and have never donated with us before, right now we are doing a special new donor drawing for a golden ticket. All new donors who pledge during our fall 2023 pledge drive will be entered into a drawing to win a golden ticket to 6 shows in our 2024 concert series. We'll even add a +1 so you can bring a friend. So if you're new and you're thinking about it, we only have 42 new people right now, so I believe you have a pretty good odds of winning that. Okay, back to the show. Garth, that was amazing.
Thank you.
The part that always hits me, because we've read this a couple times now before the show, is if our mothers knew each other, what would they think of our war? That's probably the most sobering line to me in that entire thing. Well written.
Thank you.
Any context you'd like to give on this? Or any extra elaboration?
I don't really know. The whole thing actually started as, so I've actually written this in prose form, and so I've sort of condensed that down. So it's not like this is new material for me. It's just presented in a different way. I don't know. It's like Afghanistan is so I think for a lot of veterans of GWOT, the Global War on Terror, I think a lot of us just kind of got left with this feeling of having accomplished almost nothing, and that was definitely like very Afghanistan and very route clearance. And I think that this particular, because this is a true story, this isn't like I'm not pulling different incidents. Like this was 3 days that we went to go take relief troops out to Outpost Tillman, which was named after Pat Tillman. He was the professional, the NFL player who joined Ranger Regiment, who was killed by friendly fire out there. That was a few years before we were there. Again, This was 2009. But yeah, it was just like a Sisyphean task almost. It's like we'd clear route. Our job was to clear the route of IEDs, and we would usually run into ambushes because we were the first people through. And then like in the poem, the guys who come out to help us, our other route clearance package, they run into more IEDs coming to get us, and then we run into more on the way back. So it's just like it's almost just like what's the point here?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that sentiment from a lot of people who've come back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and it's been kind of just like, oh wow, this is we went over there and then we came back, and they don't usually talk much more about that because it does feel a little bit like they weren't able to grab what they were grabbing or reaching for, I guess. I don't know. So for writing this piece, was we've had this theme before in some other shows. Was this therapeutic at all for you?
I think so. I think writing the prose is more therapeutic, but again, it's I've kind of gone through all this before, so it was almost more like a technical challenge, which is why I think it took so long, because it's kind of separating the wheat from the chaff and really and then trying to make it rhyme and make it sensical and like a lyrical structure, which I'm not a professional. So
it came out that way though. It flowed really well. So the editing has showed through quite a bit.
Thank you. That's the
editing process. Did you include anyone else on that, or was that just all you?
No, that's only me. I just nobody's heard this. Oh. This is
first time hearing. Thanks.
My friend Rick, who hopefully he's listening up in Medford, he has heard the song version, but he's the only adult that's heard this.
I'm honored, man. So, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah,
this is a cool place to hear it.
Yeah, this is an awesome program and an awesome station. It's a great community resource. So.
I agree, and just to put this in there, if you're enjoying this as much as Garth is, we are having a pledge drive right now, and it would be awesome to have some donations coming in. Is my last pitch. Right. Maybe I'll sneak one more in there before the show's over. But
I know when this show's over, I'm going to go out and fill out my own pledge form. I'll backdate the timestamp on it for your show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Right. Well, as far as writing goes, have you written any other pieces that were about your time in Afghanistan, or was this your singular piece for that?
I've written quite a bit. It's all just kind of personal. It's actually, if I were to go back, I've written enough to have a book. Absolutely none of it is revised. It's all written down just as it came out. So it's all kind of a total mess.
It's I've refrained from using mess, and I've now say it's honest.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I've done writing. Kind of became a method of therapy for me around 2014. I was having a pretty rough time. I also deployed to Iraq in 2003 during the invasion. I was in active duty for 4 years and 9 months, and then in the National Guard for another 4 years. And that was so when I was active duty, I was with the 82nd Airborne. We went during the invasion of Iraq, and then I was out for 2.5 years and got bored, I guess, and joined the California National Guard. And then one of our sister units was a combat engineer company and looking for volunteers to go to Afghanistan. And I was like, yeah, sure. So a
little bit of a glutton on that one, my friend.
What's that?
Glutton for punishment on that one.
Oh, yeah. Only took me 3 enlistments to get my fill. But I don't know, met a lot of great people. So. Have
you had any instances where sharing your writing has reached someone else in the veteran community?
No, because I haven't really shared any. So it's There's a few people here in Chico. We were a few of us were trying to get a Veterans for Peace chapter going in January of 2020. So COVID just put the kibosh on that, and we just haven't got back to it. Actually, some of them are Ron Topi, who's one of the programmers here, and
hello, Ron.
Yeah, there's a few people. So.
Would you have any, we kind of, towards the end of the show, I always like to ask I usually err towards the specific questions in the middle just because the content is fresh, and then at the end I kind of like to open them up. So for this one, because you're a veteran, this is kind of a unique question I can ask. For any, and you found that this was a semi-therapeutic process at some points for you, writing this
It was
out?
very, very therapeutic, I was seeing a counselor at the vet center, and that was one of the things that he was... He didn't really necessarily suggest it, but I talked about it. I was starting to write about it a little bit, and he was like, "Yeah, do that. Do more of that. If that's working, just do." And I think it works for anybody.
Is that something you would encourage possibly other veterans to explore? Maybe if they're feeling they need to talk about something, get something out potentially.
Absolutely, and it also, I think it just helps. I think writing, and not just for veterans, for anybody, especially with like trauma and things like that. I think it helps you to take those events and think about them in a different way, because you have to sort of look at it from the outside to be able to put it down on paper, at least if you're going to do it honestly. And in doing that, it doesn't get rid of it, but it kind of changes the way you think about it. So it's maybe not as, it's kind of like just airing something out, so it doesn't just stay in a ball and mold. You put it out in the sunlight and it dries out a little bit.
That's a beautiful way of putting that. I've personally always felt that whenever I've had something intense that I've gone through for an emotional experience for me, if it has come to my attention that I could probably write about it, or that I want to write about it, pretty much what you described is that being able to pull it out as a thought and then put it somewhere else, and then maybe just leave it there, separate yourself from it, and then come back and look at it again. That process for me has given my head immense growth and stamina, because I can go, oh my gosh, that was intense, leave, forget the emotion completely, then come back and go, oh wow, maybe this wasn't as overwhelming as I thought, or maybe it still is, but at least it's in a spot now, and I can maybe share it and find some meaning sharing it with someone, or just have it there. It doesn't have to be shared.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was originally, I wasn't intending to share stuff with anybody to start out with. So
last question. So what was the shift in wanting to share it, out of curiosity, if there was one?
This is probably one of the first things that I've actually edited and polished, and I think the format just lends itself to radio, and I think I lend myself to radio more than I do to going to a spoken word event, because I can be here in the studio with you and not have to see all the people listening to me.
Hey, it's not a placebo effect at all. That's why I liked radio versus television or something else like that. This is a nice spot. I imagine I'm the only one talking to myself in here, but then sometimes I get calls of people going, hey, I liked your show, or not. Hopefully more on the like side, but
right.
This is a much easier spot to put out words. It's a little bit safer. Which, we're nearing the end of our show. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about for this piece?
Not really. I mean, I guess I'd like to dedicate it to all the guys of the 235th Engineer Company out of Petaluma.
Did you tell him about the show? Did anyone get to?
I did. Yeah. Well, I told I don't keep in touch with that many people, but I told my buddy Rick up in Medford, okay. And so. He may have gotten a hold of some folks. Cool. So
was that the unit that was with you in this story?
Yeah.
Hey.
That was our company. So
I will say a personal thank you to all the guys that have helped Garth make it back too, and I'm glad you guys made it back as well, because this was an intense story. Thanks for being on the show, Garth.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If anyone wants to talk with me, be on the show, or anything else like that, you can do so by emailing me at write.onair@gmail.com. That's WRITE.onair@gmail.com. And I want to rescind one thing I said earlier about the editing, because it just is sitting odd in my head. I said, I think the comment was, it's honest if there was no editing, was kind of what I was getting at. Yes, there's an honesty there, but that's more of a joke. Editing is a beautiful process, and it's part of the therapeutic process for writing too, or can be part of it. So Don't feel like you just have to write it and not edit because you'll be missing something. Doing both parts of it is beautiful. Writing it without editing or writing it with editing, no problem. But at the very end of this show here, I'd like to thank everyone who's donated food to our station for this pledge drive. Big, massive, huge thank you to Farmstar Pizza, the Pita Pit, Brooklyn Bridge Bagel Works, Grana, and Kona's on Nord for providing lunch for our volunteers. Seriously, I did some volunteer time over the weekend, and your food is amazing, all of them. I've had a little sample of kind of everyone on that list right there. Please go to those places. They're amazing. Definitely worth going to. And again, we're reaching the last couple days of our pledge drive, the KZFR Fall 2023 pledge drive. We're on the home stretch. I believe we have about 8,000 more. And just an FYI, all these funds are going to capital improvements, necessary IT upgrades, installation of new operating boards, which we are all looking forward to. We didn't put them in prior to this show or prior to our pledge drive because that's going to be a lot to learn. But after this pledge drive, we're going to have hopefully a little bit more quality content to bring to you guys on new operating boards. We're purchasing a new phone system, so hopefully all of our phones work a little bit better because we have some outdated ones for sure. Purchase of new interview phones, so our interview phones will sound a little bit better quality on air, and general production room improvements. There's a lot of little things that I think this board that we have right here, we've been ordering pieces on eBay for, so all of this stuff is going to very necessary upgrades. Thank you. This has been FM 90.1 KZFR Chico, listener-supported community radio for the Sacramento Valley, the foothills, and beyond. And as I said, up right now is Right On Air.